President Trump this week openly expressing again displeasure for Russian President Vladimir Putin. This as Russia continues to attack Ukraine with hundreds of drones. Well, now, new today, the president tells NBC that he is planning to make a major statement that will come on Monday about Russia, something the Kremlin is apparently waiting for. According to reports, sanctions are a real possibility.
I echoed what the president has said, both disappointment and frustration at the lack of progress in peace talks or in a path forward.
All of this comes as Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Malaysia is meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Rubio relaying the president's frustrations as the two sides discuss a possible peace deal. Joining me now to discuss all of this, Matthew Whitaker, U.S. Ambassador to NATO. Great to see you, Ambassador. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be with you.
Any idea what this major statement could be on Monday? I know you don't want to get ahead of the president, but we talked a lot about sanctions, and it seems like in Congress they're really looking towards doing that as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to obviously break news here on your show, unfortunately. But, you know, I would say, would echo what Secretary Rubio said, which is the president is frustrated and disappointed with the Russians. I think, you know, President Trump is a peacemaker. He wants this war to end. Thousands of soldiers are dying every day on the battlefield. Plus, we're seeing way too many civilian casualties in Ukraine. And so, you know, I think there is a desire from President Trump to bring this war to an end, to conclude it, to end the killing. And both sides need to come to the table. And I think, you know, I was at The Hague for the NATO summit with President Zelensky and President Trump in the room. You know, I heard the conversation between those two, and it's very clear that on the Ukrainian side, they want to end this war as well. And I think President Trump is looking for the Russians to sit down at the table and to come to a deal that resolves all the killing and bloodshed, because it's been too long. You know, we're approaching over 3 years and almost as long as World War II, and it's just time for it to. Yeah.
And it seems like Russia just keeps stepping up their attacks, being more and more brutal. We heard from President Trump talking about the resuming of weapons to Ukraine. Obviously, Zelensky's made it very clear he needs the U.S. help. But the president tells NBC that NATO is paying for those weapons 100%. And NATO is sending them to Ukraine. As ambassador to NATO, tell us sort of the mechanics of this. And obviously, there was concern when they had been halted, but also a concern about a potential of a low stockpile here in the United States, Ambassador.
Yeah, well, a couple things. We've been working on this, obviously, very, very diligently. And what I would say is this is not going to put the Americans or the American people at a strategic risk. But at the same time, you know, we had a terrible policy under Joe Biden, and that was to just use U.S. taxpayer money to give weapons to Ukraine with no return, no hope of ever getting that money back. And now President Trump has come up with this design where weapons, American weapons, out of our stockpile, but not our strategic stockpile, will be sold to Ukraine. NATO will pay for it, meaning our European allies will pay for it. And I think it's a very efficient way to make sure, as President Trump said, that Ukraine can defend itself primarily, because, you know, the rocket and drone attacks every night are unceasing, and to make sure, again, that the American people and the American taxpayer are no longer on the hook for this. I think it's a really good idea. It's a smart idea. And of course, you know, President Trump is leading in this regard.